I became the foster mom of a gifted girl. In the book, the original woman took in the Su Miru sisters and trained her into a piano master. She cried in an interview, saying the woman stole her childhood and gave her nothing but endless piano practice. Overnight, the devil foster mom hated by the whole internet. After the woman died in a car crash, Su Miru teamed up with her orphanage. Ronga took over her fortune. The day I entered the book, the woman was at the orphanage looking for a playmate for her daughter. I looked, she was Su Miru, the future piano genius. Clutching Zhao Mingyue's hand, she stared at me with stubborn eyes. Little sister too. Then I'm not going with you. But I'm not the woman from the book. I saw Su Miru's trick. Her look and tone were clear, not begging, and know how this played out, she wouldn't lose. If I took them both, she'd get an obedient helper she'd come out loyal and righteous. I gave her a glance, my tone leaving no room for discussion. Then both of you can Ms. Lin, the two kids don't want to be separated. I'll talk to them. Miru is sensible. She'll go with I glanced at Sophie Moore hiding outside the door. Director, forget it. I came if we force two kids apart, the adopted one might hold a grudge and bully daughter later. How could that happen? Sophie made that request shows how loyal she is. She'll treat your daughter well and repay you when grown up. Repay me? I have my own child. I didn't come here to adopt a child for payback. Thinking of Sophie Moore and Luna Zhao's fate in the original book, I didn't want to stay any longer. I took Grace Rong and left. I wanted to see how far the two sisters could get without me. When we got home, my husband, Julian Shin, looked at me and Grace Rong, then looked behind. Where is she? Weren't you going to pick up the child? Why did only you two come back? She didn't want to come. That girl wanted a 2-for-1 deal, and said no. That's impossible. I already have an arrangement with her. Only then I understood. Going to the orphanage to find a playmate for our daughter was just a cover. He really wanted to take Sophie Moore as his student, and he had wanted to find an apprentice to carry on his leg. Since little, Ronald kept Yolanda pinned to the piano bench for 10 years. Her fingertips grew thick calluses, and he only said, no. So he went to the orphanage to play a charity show. Once he saw Susan Moreau's talent, he sweet-talked me into adopting her. He called it getting Yolanda a companion. Even when reading the book, I couldn't figure out why he wouldn't say he wanted Susan Moreau as his student, and instead kept using Yolanda as her foil. I didn't understand until I left the family heartbroken. Since he still won't tell the truth, I'll keep I agreed to adopt a child because you were too hard on Yolanda, and finding her a companion might help. But now that child wants to bring another. What if they gang up and bully Yolanda? It's one more kid. Bringing both back is no big deal, one more pair of chopsticks. Adopting kids isn't shopping. You don't get buy one get. Shane Gilmore, I don't agree to adopting two girls. Shane Gilmore stared at me like I was a stranger. Just then, Yolanda, her tiny trembling hand took hold of mine. I held her hand tight and turned to lead her upstairs. But I never expected Samuel Jean Leong to be this obsessive. The next day, cooking in an apron, I saw Samuel Jean Leong bring Susan Miru. She glanced at me timidly and called me Auntie. I said nothing and stared at Samuel Jean Leong. Miru, from now on, is your home. Child has a gift for music. It'd be a shame not to nurture it, so I brought her back. So finding Ronga a playmate was a lie? Why not say you wanted an apprentice? Was that so hard? How was I? Your daughter doesn't have the talent. If I say it, you'll start making a scene. What's there to make a scene over? Your music genes didn't pass on to your daughter. Shouldn't you? So this is how he is in the original book, blaming everything on the original wife. And now he's gaslighting me. Since you look down on Rona. Starting today, she doesn't need to practice piano anymore. Ridiculous. She's studied for years. How can she give up? Weren't you saying she had no spark? Now that you've found a better to stand by and play. What do you mean? Why would I make Rona a sidekick? If you want Rona to keep learning piano, then that child can't come into this house. Make your choice. Shin Jean Leong kept Su Miru. When Ronga came back after school and heard she didn't have to practice piano, her eyes lit up first, then she looked at Will you change your last name to Shin? I took my mom's last name. It's all she left me to remember her by, so she took her mother's last name. Just a last name. What's the big deal? Thank you, Dad Shin. I'll do as I'm told. The original story mentioned that his first love had the last name Su. The next day, he took both their hair and sent it in for testing. On the day the results came out, before I got home, when I opened the door, I saw Zhao Mingyue pointing at Ronga viciously. You're jealous that Uncle Shin is teaching Sister Morong piano. It's some stupid doll. Who cares? She threw the rag doll on the floor and stomped on it hard. Ronga fell to the ground, eyes red as she tried to get up and hit Zhao Mingyue, but Zhao Mingyue tripped her again. I rushed over and helped Ronga up. Seeing me, she burst into tears and she got picked on and was too scared to tell, afraid I'd fight with Julian Shin. I picked up Ruby Rong and turned to look at Julian Shin, who was walking out. So you're home. Those two were bullying Ruby Rong. Are you deaf? Watch your mouth. Ruby Rong is an only child. She doesn't know how to give in. Those two kids are younger than her. What's wrong with letting them have their way? I slapped him across the face, then kicked Julian Shin to the floor. He was in so much pain he couldn't get up for a while. Susan Su and Luna Zhao covered mouths in terror. Rowan snapped out of it and went to help. Rowan, don't go over there. Or your clueless dad will just take it out on you again. Anyone who didn't know better would think Summer Sinclair was your biological daughter, and two orphan girls were bullying your real child right under your nose. And you're actually taking their side. Lydia Quinn, have you had enough yet? It's all there in black and white. Summer and I are not related by blood. You did this behind my back. Respect? I said no to adopting Summer Sinclair, but you brought her home anyway. Then while I was away, you brought back another one. When your daughter was bullied, you hid in your room and wouldn't come out. Shane Keane, what in this family have you ever cared about? But all you've done is call your daughter stupid. What else have you done? If you hadn't kept putting her down, how long have these 2 orphan girls been in this house? And they already dare to walk all over her and throw their weight around. Since you love being a sucker who takes the fall so much, then sign it. After we get divorced, you can raise your student yourself. I'm taking our daughter with me. Lynn Greenway. It may be easy for you to take Rona Song away, but raising her alone won't be so easy. I didn't look back. I picked and walked out with Rona Song. She stayed quiet, her hand clutching my clothes tightly, until I let her into the apartment I rent. She lifted her face and held me gently. Mom, are you really going to divorce Dad because of me? Not because of you. Because of us. A family shouldn't make you feel you must be careful even when you breathe. I want to be there for you while you grow up. Study whatever you want. And if you don't like it, that's okay. In the book, Shin Jin Leon was a doomed side character. He wore himself out and got stabbed in the back. After I ended up in the book, I thought about changing his fate. But he insisted on yet he still let orphan girl bully Ronga. That made me realize I can't overturn the whole plot. I never thought of telling Shin Jin Leon. What if he sends me to a mental hospital? Then what's the point of ending up in this book? So I have to leave that home, even if after the divorce, Shin Jin Leon never came looking for us. He probably thought I'd go back and beg him. What Shin Jin Leon heard was that I'd made money investing in stocks, opened a flower shop, and life was getting better. Later, he came back asking to get back to, but I turned him down. Not after. Ronga came back from music camp and looked at me with shining eyes. There was a rare Mom, my instructor said she wants to recommend me for the International Young Singers competition. What do I need to prepare? But Dad says I didn't inherit his musical talent. What if I don't win a prize? You earned your level 10 piano certificate this year. Rongu, you're not lacking musical talent. Since your music teacher wants to recommend you for the competition, you must have strengths. She looked at me, her eyes turning red, and nodded hard. That night, passing Rongji's door and hearing singing inside, I leaned against the door and a parent's eyes shouldn't be a judge's eyes. They should be first to applaud her. As the years passed, Rongu grew more confident, no longer that insecure little girl her father called useless. She learned to fight, learned to sing, won an international championship, and even taught music school, the Juilliard School, the Harvard of music. I thought life would stay peaceful like that. Until that day, when the flower shop door was pushed open. Years passed, yet Susan Moreau looked even more worn out than Yvonne Song, who was preparing to study abroad. Susan Moreau was still wearing the old coat I had left. It hung loosely on her, with frayed cuffs. She approached me timidly. Your teacher misses you and your sister. When are you coming home? See him? Can't he talk or walk? Want me to go back, don't you? Life isn't easy with a man whose heart belongs only to music. Ma'am, I admit I was greedy back then. I wanted to find a home for Luna too. I really didn't expect you to get divorced. Did you come today to judge me? No. After all these years, your teacher still can't get used to my cooking. I stared at her cracked shoes. I figured Shin Jin Leon only wanted to adopt a gifted child but never cared for one. In the original story, whenever the original host bought Rongu, she got allowance every month and he spent on top piano teachers for her. But after I left, Shin Jin Leon's world fell apart. After the wedding, he never cared about this family. He didn't even know how to pay the water or electricity bills. Later I heard he dumped all and buried himself in music. But if Su Miru had a hard life, what does that have to do with me? Stop coming here. My divorce was related to him adopting you, but back then, at the orphanage, you wanted to ask you to adopt Mingyue too that you started hating me? Back then, I just wanted to look like a kind child. Even now, Su Miru still wants to guilt trip me. A kind child wouldn't make things hard for others. That night Rongu came back, I was cooking and mentioned Su Miru had come by that afternoon. She leaned in the doorway, guy who saw me at the music festival and fell for me at first sight. She insists on setting us up, but I saw Zhao Mingyue go see him earlier. So the plot has collapsed in some unknown direction. What is Zhao Mingyue trying to do? A few days later, the International Music Exchange selection results are out. Rowan Gale earned a scholarship recommendation with outstanding performance. One step closer, she kept trying to drag her out to parties, saying she wanted to celebrate, but she got turned down every time. I went with Rowan Gale to a salon hosted by senior people in the music world, hoping she'd meet more industry contacts. When we passed an alley, I heard a familiar voice coming from inside. Just hold up this sign and say Rowan Gale. I went over and saw Luna Vale with a thug in the alley. I recorded them on my phone from the entrance. Just hold the sign and say Rowan Gale is your girlfriend, and that you two slept together. Now that she's got a bright future, she wants to dump you. Ruin her reputation. I called the police right away. Before that thug could spread rumors, he and Luna Vale were taken to the station. There, Luna Vale, she hired a thug to fabricate rumors and ruin Rowan Gale's reputation. The friend who helped Rowan Gale make connections was exposed too. The police asked her why. Zhao Brightmoon bit her lip and said nothing. But I knew why. They were afraid Rong Song would come. No one knew if their names were in the will. As long as Rong Song, his biological daughter, was gone, all the property. I sent the recording to Shin Fairgood. When the call came, his voice was shaky. Qing rose. Brightmoon went after Rong Song? The recording is clear. Believe it or not. I don't know what you did to make her hate Rong Song. Rong Song is your daughter. Even if you dislike her, don't hurt her. How could Brightmoon? She's such a sensible child. I stood by the window, watching the traffic outside. The girl you picked as your adopted daughter is gifted. She knows exactly to ruin someone. Xin Jin Liang. So this is the child you chose. He choked up before forcing out. How's Ronga? She's fine. Keep your adopted daughter under control. Don't show up in front again. Or next time, it won't be a trip to the police station. The next day, when I went to pick up Ronga, she told me Shin Jin Liang. He gave her a bank card. Ronga also said Shin Jin Liang looked upset. It's normal for him to be upset. The one he put his heart into raising not only failed to place in the top 3 of the piano competition, but also framed his biological daughter, Su Miru. Didn't Zhao Mingyue do this? Your dad said she had a gift for music. She started thinking she was born to be better than you, but now you've been accepted by Juilliard. She didn't make the top 3 in the national competition. Some people are just like that. They've got no talent, so they can only hate the one who worked hard and made it. So she wanted to ruin me. In the book, Su Miru always used Zhao Mingyue as a weapon against Ronggu. I came into, but Su Miru still refused to leave her alone. 3 months later, Ronggu finished her studies. Her enrollment at Juilliard was set. On the day the scholarship results were announced, her fingertips trembled. She opened the email from Juilliard and called out to me in surprise, "Mom, my admission scholarship is..." I leaned in. It covered the first year's tuition. With that international singing championship, Harmony's song crushed to dust. And now she'd proved with her skill that she deserved approval of the world's top music school. Little by little, her confidence. I took her to a bar. She's an adult now. Time she saw the world. Try something sweet. This is good. The pretty ones are usually dangerous. This drink tastes great, but it's stronger than it seems. 1 or 2 glasses is enough before someone hauls you off. Remember this taste. So if you ever come to a bar with someone, she got scared she didn't dare drink more. Her eyes swept curiously over the noisy crowd, then suddenly she went wide-eyed and grabbed me. Mom, look. Isn't that soft Grace Sue? I turned and looked. Soft Grace Sue was half dragged out by a man with his arm around her. Her eyes were unfocused. She was clearly wasted. Harmony's song instinctively started to get up and rush over. Your adopted daughter was drugged at Nightfall Bar. Someone's taking her away now. What? I'm coming right now. If I have to, I'll call the cops. Mom, we're here. Why aren't we helping her? Because if you help, she might not appreciate. What if that guy has people with him? What if you get hurt? Then let's call the cops. Even though she pulled some stuff on me before, I can't stand by and watch her life get ruined. I called the bartender over but he insisted on taking Susan Moreau away. As they were leaving the bar, Veronica's song rushed over. Let her go. I've already called the— Get lost. Stay out of this. Just then, Susan Moreau weakly lifted her head. When Susan Moreau saw Veronica's song, she struggled to stand straight, but her body gave out and she slumped to one side, clutching the man's sleeve beside her. Why are you here? To laugh at me? You're drunk. I'll take you home. Get lost. I don't need your fake concern. Rongu froze. The man seized the chance, shoved her aside. Rongu stumbled, and I caught her. Her voice was shaky. Mom. Su Miru had refused, but the man dragged her away. Why? Jealousy blinds people. When someone's back, the one they hate most isn't the abuser, but the spotless bystander. Some people bite the hand that tries to pull them up. But you called Dad too. It wouldn't have cost you to tell. I could still stand by and watch. Then Shin Jin Liang charged into the bar, rage on his face. He grabbed the man by the collar, and bar security and police. Amid the chaos, Gu leaned against. I'll remember that. Before you help anyone, protect yourself first. I patted her head, and then we left the bar together. While Ruby was studying at Julia, she sang the theme song for a city drama. The show blew up, and she did too. She got more admirers. Flowers, gifts, and invitations kept coming until she came back home for vacation. She brought up Zion Hartme, biting on her straw. Mom, lately this rich gallery owner's son has been chasing me. He said he heard songs and fell for me. I was arranging flowers in my hands, and my scissors snipped through a lily. Zion Hart was the lunatic from the original story who had someone ram my car in Shane Cole's to cheer. That psycho thought if he staged an accident, Ruby would come back and Su Monroe would stop blaming herself. How did the story get? Now he's living with Su Monroe while chasing after Ruby at the same time. Rongu. Stay away from Zhou Haojin. He doesn't have a great reputation, and his girlfriend is Su Miru. Su Miru? No wonder. A couple of days ago, she added me on WeChat, said she wanted to make peace with, so she thought I was stealing her boyfriend. Mom. The watch on the cover belongs to Victor Zhou. They went to Paris 2 months ago. He went abroad with Bella Su for a vacation, and still came after me. What does he take me for? A trophy? Someone like Evan Rong is dangerous. The farther you stay from him, the better. Mom, don't worry. I'll stay away from him, but some people can't be avoided. A few days later, Bella Su posted a signed statement saying her adoptive father, Julian Shen, had controlled her for years. She accused so he could have her to himself. The post was full of details, with several intimate-looking photos and screenshots of late-night messages from Julie. The last photo was a close-up of a fresh cut on her wrist. The public exploded. A once revered piano master became a beast in a suit overnight. When Rose saw the news, she was practicing in a rehearsal room back home. She called Julian Shen, but no one picked up. When I received her call, her voice was shaking. Mom, how could this be possible? This is a setup. Mira Su would only do this if someone used her. That person is after you. This never happened in the originals. Someone is pulling the strings behind this. That night, Howard Zhou called Rose. Lowering his voice, Howard Zhou said, Rose, I know about your father. I have evidence. I can prove those photos were staged, and the information was taken out of context. I have the cut on Mira Su's wrist was self-inflicted. Mr. Zhou, say what you want. But once the evidence goes public, Su Miru's life will be ruined. She was with me, after all. As long as you agree to be with me, I know the difference between love and just fooling around. How do I know you're not lying to me? Tomorrow, you'll see public opinion turn around. I'll come pick you up then. The call ends. Rongu, send me the recording. Does Zhou Haojin really think I'd sacrifice myself for my dad? When he brings out the evidence tomorrow, call the police. The next day, the trending topic flipped. Security footage showed Su Miru going to Shin Jinliang's place late at night over and over. When she left, she looked calm. A close-up of the marks on her wrist didn't match the timing in her medical records. On top of that, there were public opinion turned again, and this time the backlash was even worse. While Su Miru was torn apart online, I called her. Want to turn this? I know you have dirt on Zhou Haojin. Don't rush to say no. Listen to this recording first. You think Zhou Haojin had you set up Shin Jinliang to help you, but it was just his way of getting Rongu. At dusk, Howard Chow's sports car pulled up on time outside Rita Young's studio. Leaning against the door, he said, Get in. I'll take you home. Rita Young took out her phone and played a recording. Howard Chow heard this voice. If you agree to be with me, I'll clear your father and get him out of this mess clean. You set me up. Weren't you who used my dad's name to threaten me first? Howard Chow, you really have no shame. I only wanted to help because I like you. Why would I threaten you? I got out of the car beside them. I played the video Summer Mo sent me. Summer Mo got your so-called love too, and you used her, even set her up against her adoptive father. Your kind of love is terrifying. On screen, Howard Chow was at a private club, whispering as he tempted Summer Mo, your adoptive father. Didn't you want your wife and daughter to come? As long as you make a big scene, the two of them will definitely come back. I wanted you and your daughter to see who stands by each other in hard times. What's wrong with that? Zane Cho, you're disgusting. The police rushed over and put him in the squad car. I glanced at him and got into the driver's seat with Ronan Song. Mom, I want to go see Dad. You should. From Julian Shin's studio came broken, halting piano notes. Ronan Song knocked on the door. The piano stopped, and the door opened. Julian Shin stood there, looking older. When he saw Ronan Song, his eye, You're here. Come on in. Sit down. I'll get you water. No need. Zhou Haojin's been arrested. Su Miru confessed to everything. Things may have been cleared up online, but people will probably still gossip about it behind your back. At my age, my reputation doesn't matter anymore. Then what does matter? My reputation doesn't matter. You matter. When I was little, I was scared of it. You always said I played badly, that I had no talent. But the truth is, I loved. I'm sorry. I forgive you, but not because you deserve it. It's because I don't want to live carrying hatred. I won't come see you often. If you need anything, call this number. I looked at Julian Shin, the man who once used talent to deny his daughter's worth. Now he covered his face with his hand, his shoulders shaking. He cried like a lost child. Grace Young pulled a ticket from her bag, handed it to Julian Shin, and invited him next week to her graduation concert to hear her sing. Julian Shin's sobbing stopped. He took the ticket and nodded hard, clutching it with trembling He was nothing like he used to be in the piano room, so certain of himself. Rong Song turned around, walked straight to me. I looked into his eyes. They were clear and calm, with no resentment, no hurt, only complete peace. On the day of the concert, I flew to New York and got to the theater early with Rong Song. In the dressing room, I looked at Rong Song in the mirror. Honey, are you nervous? Mom. You made me understand that no matter what I choose or what kind of person I become, you'll love me, not because I'm gifted. Not because I can win awards, but simply because I'm me. You were the best. Before the show started, I sat in the front row. Shin Jin Liang walked in quiet and found his seat. Rong Song stepped onto the stage, and the spotlight fell on her. When the performance ended, applause thundered. I saw Shin Jin Liang stand up and clap hard. Rong Song took 3 bows, and to the crowds, I sang one more song. When it ended, I asked Samuel Chinley to meet me backstage, but he turned me down. Soon after, he texted to thank me. He would not disturb us. He only hoped we'd be happy. 3 months later, the case of Howard Chowchin and I anonymously sent the police a package filled with shady accounts of the Chow family over the years and Howard Chowchin's criminal records. Howard Chowchin and Sylvia Moreau got deserved punishment. And after graduating from Juilliard, Veronica Song's career took off, and she met someone who loved her. At the wedding, Veronica Song held my arm as we walked down the flowered aisle. I lifted her hand and placed it into groom Lincoln. Looking at Veronica Song's happy face, I thought of Lin Qingwei in the book, driven to death by her 2 adopted daughters, whose own daughter died far from home. Now I had a healthy and happy daughter, and peaceful, easy life. The plot had long since fallen apart, and Veronica Song and I had both found our own lives. We had finally stepped out of the shadow of that book and become the leads of our own story. In the 3rd year of Veronica Song's marriage, my flower shop had opened a second location. That afternoon, I was trimming fresh lilies when the courier brought over a package with no sender information. The package was small, wrapped in an ordinary gray plastic bag. I was guessing who had sent it as I opened it. Inside was an envelope and an old cell phone. I opened the envelope and found several photos. The people in them, I recognized, Susan Moore and Luna Bright. The 2 stood tense in a shabby room, peeling walls and iron bars behind them. And on the back of the photo, written in ballpoint pen, were the words, "They want to see you." I turned on the phone. The screen lit up. There was only one video file. When I opened it, Luna Bright's face appeared. She was reading from a script, her eyes darting off camera. "Aunt Linda, we're here. Please save us. They want money. 5 million. Transfer it to account." He read out numbers, his voice flat, without any emotion. In the last few seconds of the video, Susan Moore's face flashed into view. She didn't speak, with the faintest hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. I turned off the phone and sat in the chair in the flower shop, not moving for a long time. But not because I was afraid. It was because I was furious. After years, they still refused to let me go. First I put the package back exactly as it was and took some pictures. Then I called Rowan at random and asked him to come by the flower shop that night. When Liam came with him. Liam was 2 years older than Rowan and managed overseas construction projects. He was solid and dependable. His eyes turned red. He said he'd never let Rowan suffer. More than 2 years had passed, and he'd kept that promise. I handed them the photos After Rowan looked through them, his face went pale. His fingers trembled as they gripped the edge of the photo. Liam put an arm around his shoulders and wasn't Mom and the others in one of those scam compounds? I poured her a glass of water. Probably. But how did they get my That's the real problem. Liam picked up the old phone and looked through it. This phone's really old, but it still turns on. That means someone delivered it. There's no sender info. He glanced at it. I'll have someone look into it. He pulled out. Rowan held the glass without drinking, staring at Summer's face in the photo. Mom, what do you want to do? I'll hold his hand. This time we have photos, videos, and account details. Chain of evidence is complete. Rong Song nods, but there's hesitation in her eyes. I know what she's thinking. Su Miru was clearly sent, but she's appeared again in the telecom scam compound, which means something went wrong in between. Can we deal with her smoothly this time? But I can't. I have my doubts too. Linu speaks up from the side. Mom's right. Should go through the proper channels first. If that doesn't work, I have other connections can use to investigate. What connections? The company has a project over there. There's a local partner. But it was the last resort. That night, I went to the police station and handed over the materials. The officer taking my report was When he saw the photo, his face changed. He called over Officer Zhou. The man stared at the photo of Susan Moore. I know this person. Back then, my colleague handled her case. Later, when she was extradited back, I was there too. Wasn't she serving time? How could she be in a scam compound? She was sentenced back then. But her sentence was reduced. I can't say much about the file, but she was released. After getting out, she went south. After that, she disappeared. It wasn't until you reported she might be in a scam compound that we started looking into it again. I pressed him, asking, "Can this case be opened?" Officer Zhou nodded, "It can. This is cross-border kid. This is a major case, but it will take time. We'll also need Interpol's cooperation." When I got home, it was almost dawn. Rong-song and Linu were still waiting for me in the living room, and I repeated what the officer. After hearing me, Rong-song stayed silent a long time. Linu spoke first. "Mom, I'm going there on a... The company took on a new project near the border, very close to the country where the scam compound is." My heart tightened. "When was this decided?" He let out a sigh and said, "This afternoon." I was about to tell. Rong-song suddenly turned to look at him. "You can't go. The contract's signed. If I don't go, I'll have to pay a penalty. And the project won't last long. I'll be back in 2 months. Did you know this project would be connected to that place?" Linu nodded. "The company knows the situation there is complicated. That's why they're sending me. I've got experience." "But Mom, Linue, you can't gamble with your life. Su Miru knows me, and she knows you're my husband." "I know, so I'll be more careful. And if this project works out, our company can really expand business over there. Then when we work with the police, we'll have more channels too." I looked at the two of them and knew Linue was right, but that didn't mean I could accept it. I said, "Promise me 3 things. First, check in with Ronga every day and send your location. Second, when you get there, contact the local embassy and file your itinerary. Third, if anything feels off, leave immediately. I'll cover penalty for breaking the Linu nodded. "I promise." Ronga looked at him with red eyes, her lips moving slightly. At last, she said nothing. The day Linu left, Ronga and I went to the airport to see him off. I looked at them, feeling I couldn't explain. Lin Jingwei suffered in silence beside her husband, Shin Jinliang. In the end, her family was destroyed and she lost her life. But now, my daughter married the right man, and my son-in-law is... During the first week after Lin Yu went abroad, things were normal. Every day, he texted Rongu on time, shared his location, and sent if Rongu relaxed and started preparing a new music project. One night in the second week, I was closing up the flower shop when Rongu called. Her voice was shaking as she said, "Lin Yu hadn't sent her messages today. When was the last time you heard from him?" "Yesterday afternoon. He said he was going into the mountains to inspect a site, and the signal might be bad. He said he'd contact me by noon today at the... Did you call him?" "I did, but his phone's off. I called his company too. They said they're trying to reach him, but there's no... I'm almost there." When I got to Ronga's place, she was sitting on the living room couch, phone in hand, eyes fixed on Lin Yu's location. It was still at the spot from yesterday afternoon. No updates after that. I sat down beside her and called Shin Jinliang first. He picked up right away. "Su Miru got out of prison." "No, I know. Someone told me half a year ago. I thought she'd gone south. She wouldn't come back." "She didn't, but she's in the telecom scam zone." Lin Yu went there on a business trip. Went missing today. Do you have Su Miru's contact?" "No, but I know a reporter. He specializes in cross-border crime investigations. I'll send you his contact." "Thanks." I hung up. After I thanked him, Ronga seemed to lose strength and leaned against my shoulder. She didn't cry. Her body was trembling slightly. "It'll be okay. No matter what, Mom will help you." Early the next morning, I went to the police station. I told Officer Zhou that Lin Yu had gone missing, and he frowned. "Where is your son-in-law's project?" I showed him last location Lin Yu sent me. "This spot is near where 3 countries meet. Scam compounds are packed there. You think Su Miru was behind it?" "Not sure, but the timing is too perfect. She'd send a package demand, then my son-in-law was sent by his company, and then he vanished. I'll handle both matters. But Ms. Lin, let me remind you, things over there are complicated. Official channels take time. Be prepared." "I know, but I won't sit and wait." After I left the police station, I went straight to see the reporter Shin Jinliang mentioned, Bong Yuan. He was waiting for me in his office. "You're here." The desk was covered with maps and photos. "Ms. Lin, I started looking into your son-in-law's case last night. The last place his phone was tracked has 3 scam compounds nearby. One of them, we got a tip before. There was a Chinese woman inside acting as low-level boss. Her last name was Can you confirm it's her?" Not yet, but I have an informant over there checking now. If it moves fast, 2 or 3 days. And don't worry about the cost. Your husband, Julian Shen, helped me back then. I owe him. I spent an hour in his office and looked through many files. The more I read, the more those compounds are protected by armed groups. Often, the local police can't do anything either. Interpol can only do so much, are usually the families paying ransom. But I won't give Summer Shaw a cent. Not because I can't bear to, but because even if she never wanted money. It was revenge. After I left Fong Yuan, drove to Xinjinliang's studio. He'd aged a lot. Most of his hair was white, but the piano room was tidier than before. When he saw me, he froze a second, then poured me a not good. It's the 3rd day since Linu vanished. Back then, I never should have adopted Su Miru. There's no point saying that now. I came to ask you something. Su Miru have a weak spot? Her mother. Her mother had younger sister before she died. Aunt Margaret dug through her phone and found the number she kept from when she helped Sarah Monroe mail that letter years ago. Before I left, Ethan Sharp called out. He said if we could get him out this time, he wanted to apologize. I didn't look back. Told him. I went back to I called Aunt Margaret, Sarah Monroe. She answered. Her voice was old and wary. I told her who I was and said Sarah Monroe had kidnapped my son-in-law, and her aunt gave me a string of numbers, saying it was the one Sarah Monroe used the last time she contacted her. I thanked her and hung up. I stared at the number for a few seconds, then dialed it. It rang a few times, then someone picked up. Sarah Monroe's voice came through the receiver, lazy and faintly amused. I pushed down the anger inside me. I'm Lydia Green. Summer Moore's voice turned sharp with emotion. How do you know this number? I spoke calmly. Don't worry about how I know it. Ethan Woods is with you now. What do you want? Want to save your son-in-law? Then trade yourself for him. Summer Moore laughed. The laugh sent a chill down my spine. Come to me, and I clenched my fists. Summer Moore, you've lost your mind. I lost my mind long ago. The day you refused to adopt me. I'll give you 3 days to think it over. If you don't come in 3 days, then get ready to collect your son-in-law's body. The call ended and I walked over to the window. I called Officer Zhou and told him my plan. He was silent for a long time after hearing it. Ms. Lin, your plan is we can work with you. Once you say yes, she'll give you the exact location. We can coordinate with Interpol and be there before, but only if you don't actually go. In the end, I agreed to Officer Zhou's arrangement. The next day, Fong Yuan's informant sent word back, confirming the ringleader in that compound was Su Miru. Zhao Mingyue was there. Her condition was terrible. They said the abuse had broken her mind. Lin Yu was held in that compound with several other foreigners. Fong Yuan showed me the photos. The photos were very blurry. Lin Yu's face was clear enough to make out. He had lost much weight. There was a wound at the corner of his mouth. When Ronga saw the photo, she covered her mouth. I followed the plan and sent a text to the number for Su Miru. I told her to give me the address. Su Miru replied in less than a minute. She told me to call this number at the border in 3 days. She warned me not to try anything. I forwarded the message to officers. He replied that Interpol had already coordinated everything there. In 3 days, people would be stationed at the border crossing. Just keep her talking on the phone. You don't. On the morning of the 3rd day, before dawn, I arrived at the place Officer Zhou had mentioned. Fong Yuan came, with his equipment and informant. Officer Zhou and several colleagues were in a temporary command post, and on the computer screen, the map and live feed from the border. Ms. Lin, are you ready? Use this. Equipment can track location. I took a deep breath and called Serena Moore. She picked up after 3 rings. I'm at the checkpoint. After crossing, head south. Someone will meet you. I need proof Liam Wood is alive. The line went quiet for a few seconds, then I heard Liam's voice. Weak. He got a few words out before the sound cut off. Serena Moore got on the line. You heard. Get to the designated spot now. Then the call ended. I looked at Officer Zhou. An hour and a half later, we got the location. The signal source is here. Officer Zhou's phone rang. He answered, listened briefly, and a look of joy crossed. The operation worked. Lin Yu is out. She's safe. Interpol raided the compound and secured everyone. Your son-in-law is safe and getting a checkup. During the arrest, Su Miru tried to run, but she was subdued. Zhao Mingyue was there too. She was mentally very bad and has already been taken to the hospital. The trial was held a month later. Su Miru was charged with multiple crimes. Zhao Mingyue appeared as a witness and testified to all the crimes. On the day of the verdict, Ronggu and Lin Yu were there. Ronggu held Lin Yu's hand all the time, her face completely blank. Shin Jinliang waited for us at the courthouse entrance. When he saw Ronggu, he took a step forward, then stopped. Ronggu, Lin Yu spoke first. Dad. Thank you for helping us find the reporter. Shin Jinliang looked at Ronggu, moved his lips, and said, I didn't do. It's fine, as long as you're okay. Ronggu nodded, and Lin Yu suggested eating together. The table was quiet. After we finished eating, Shin Jinliang left first. When he reached the door, he looked back at Ronggu. She stood up. Dad. I'll walk you out. Tears fell from Shin Jinliang's eyes. He turned, waved his hand, and walked out. Ronga stood at the door, watching his. I walked over and put an arm around her shoulders. Mom, was I too cruel? No, you've already done well enough. I don't want to hate anymore. Hating someone is too exhausting. The night was deep, but the streetlights were bright. A few months later, Linu recovered and went back to work. It won several awards. My flower shop business kept improving, and the third branch opened. Bong Yuan sometimes came by the shop. Officer Zhou came by once. He told me Su Miru was steady in prison. What do you mean by steady? It means she doesn't cause trouble and doesn't say, oh, she's still holding on to that. Maybe, but her hatred can't hurt anyone now. That night, I sat on Flower Shop Terrace and looked up at the star. Ronga called and said she and Linu were going to have a baby. I laughed and said okay. After I hung up, I pulled up it was taken at Rongji's wedding. She wore a white gown, smiling with her eyes crinkled. Linu stood beside her with an arm around her. He was smiling. Shin Jinliang sat below the stage with red-rimmed eyes. Now I have a career and a healthy daughter, a dependable son-in-law and a peaceful life.